Everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Environmental Impacts Internship Program, Data Driving Competitiveness. We are going to start with a little poll to know a little bit more about you so that we can guide things and also so that we can understand who we're speaking to. So at some point now in your screens, there should be appearing a poll that will ask you whether you, on which side of the academy you are. So are you a student? Or are you a company representative? Are you looking for talent as a company representative, or are you looking for an interesting place to use your skills as a student or internship candidate? So let's give it a few seconds for you to answer those questions. And in the meanwhile, I'll let you know some of the housekeeping. We have the Zoom chat in which you can go and ask questions. In particular, one big section of this program will be a fireside chat, and we want to source as much as possible from your questions. So if you have questions about the topics that we talk about or the academy, make sure to post them over there, and we will address them. So in the chat, some of them we may answer written, but some of them we will also address during the discussions. And I'll do a really quick round of introductions of the speakers and that you will be seeing today. We have with us Gregory Norris, who's teaching LCA at Harvard and handprinting at MIT. We have Nikolai H. Main, Senior International Client Consultant at Graduate we have Tanya Holm, co-founder at Environmental Impacts Academy, and myself, environmental entrepreneur and co-founder at EarthServe. And before I leave you with the first speaker, we have a goal for this webinar, and that is we want 10 of you company representatives to send Tanya a message showing your interest in the internship program. And the first ones who send the message will get to select their interns first. So shop for talent and send a message right now. Now, you might be saying, how can I do that? In the chat screen, you have Tanya's phone number, so you can send her a WhatsApp right now and share your interest with the Academy. And without further ado, I'm going to leave you with our first speaker, Gregory Norris from MIT and Harvard, to start with the first presentation. So over to Greg. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and hello, everyone. A pleasure to be with you here today. Thanks for joining. I'm going to take a brief 3 minutes to share with you a concept that we call living life cycle assessment here at EarthServe. Next slide, Tanya, thanks. So LCA demand, if you plot it, it probably looks like the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere these days. It hasn't been this high for millions of years and is going up steeply. And so to understand what people really want from life cycle assessment, it helps to understand what's driving this increase in LCA. We do that research here at EarthServe, and we're finding the quotes here from this startup that sells recycled plastic to major companies is quite indicative. Companies have made commitments on the environment, and in turn, they're asking their employees to make sure that their performance is improving. And the LCA is one of the key ways that companies demonstrate that improvement. Next slide, Tanya. Here's a good example of how exponential growth is happening on the commitments. This is just a quick look at the commitments by year for Science-Based Targets Initiative, one of the major applications. Next slide. For each one of those companies pursuing SBTI, in turn, they can achieve some of their goals by engaging their suppliers in the SBTI, which means the suppliers engage the suppliers. So you have exponential growth in commitments multiplied times the viral nature of conformance with these commitments. And that explains at least part of the explosion we're seeing. Next slide. What this means is that what companies really need now is actually different from what they used to ask of life cycle assessment. They need documentation of progress. And this is moving us from what we call fossil life cycle assessment to living LCA. Next slide. Now, what is fossil LCA? It's the way we've been doing life cycle assessment for millions of years. LCAs have been these static reports and pictures. They describe a moment in time for which the data pertain. And to do one of these LCAs, you basically build a static model using these snapshot data. Next slide. The problem with fossil LCA is that it is static. And every time you read a life cycle assessment, you have tons of new questions. But the report can't answer the what ifs. And to respond to this need, consultants have started to basically grab a piece of the LCA model and create a dashboard. The problem with that dashboard is it's static because it's connected to a moment in time. So that's where, next slide, we move to living LCA. We say rather than use the static data, build a model and connect the key pieces to your suppliers themselves so that as they change, your model changes and is up to date.
Thank you very much, Greg.
LCA concept.
And that's a very novel concept. First of all, thank you, Gregory, for the presentation. And we're in an online event, so virtual round of applause, which will be a little bit more silent than in face-to-face ones. Thank you, Greg. And I'll pick up for my talk on the concept of the living LCA, because that's been a motivation for us. We realized when we started our journey with Erster that one thing that LCA wasn't yet and needed to become in order to respond to that concept of living LCA is a communication tool. So far as it was a number crunching tool, and the communication happened outside of it. So we decided, what would LCA look like if we put communication and transparency and making information clear and available to everybody in the forefront? And that's one of the leading ideas behind Erster. So, well, one of the ways you see it is through the user interface, which those of you familiar with LCA may notice differences with more traditional software. But also another core item is that when you're editing one of these models are not meant to be for somebody sitting isolated and getting data, sending Excels out and getting the data through that. They're meant to be shared so that other parties can input the data, can write the numbers there, so that you have the expert managing the process. But then some of these numbers, they may be very easy for somebody in the organization to find, and very, very difficult for the LCA practitioner. So we made it very easy to by having a cloud tool for anybody to participate and to share parts of the cycle. And one place where we noticed that we needed to push even harder is on saying, well, what about sharing in the supply chain? Because then people are not open to share absolutely everything, but they do want to, are open to sharing their environmental impact. So if I look here for a specific part for the car, this is an example of a car as you're seeing. In this case, I have created that, so you may recognize my name. But here, I would find as our beta rolls out and as more people are inputting their data here, you would find gearboxes for the different gearbox producers. So I can compare different suppliers. I can have information about my specific suppliers, and the data is connected. They have their Erster that they keep up to date, and I have my Erster that reads from that and is kept up to date. And that is transformative for the way people consume it, because it's no longer a static picture of how things were when I started the process of doing an LCA. It's a living picture that as my suppliers get better, my picture gets better. And with that, how to put this into practice? For that, I'm going to introduce our third speaker, Nikolai Eichmann from Graduate Land, who's going to tell us about the internship programs and how they can contribute to talent in your organization. Nikolai, please, and big round of virtual applause for him.
Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. It's really, really nice to be here and be able to share this with you. I'll quickly just talk a little bit about Graduate and who we are. We are Europe's largest career portal for students and graduates. We are also the preferred virtual platform for universities in Europe. So during COVID, it wasn't possible to do career fairs. So we did them all virtually for the universities. And we are based in Denmark, but we are a very, very international company. We have 28 different languages under one roof. And there we go. So when you see all these companies, they all have one thing in common, and that is that them and many companies more, that they look for interns. These companies particularly use Graduate to look for interns. And the reason that they do this is because internships are important for these companies, because it allows them to get new perspectives, knowledge, and ideas into a company in an easy way. You can get interns into a company with almost no cost. So it cuts down on like recruitment and training costs. And they come in with a lot of knowledge. So often they come in to help like ease out the workload for the established workforce. And by doing that, they often see the processes in a company with new eyes. And this then allows them to come up with ways of improving it. And it's so they bring a lot of new perspective into a company that may have grown like very ingrained in their own processes. This is also a great way for companies to test drive talent. So they get people in to the company via internships. And this is a great possibility for them. Can somebody mute? I can hear somebody eating lunch. But it's a great way to get, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. It's a great way to get talent into a company. Right now, it's really difficult to hire, especially for more technical jobs. And this is a way of getting interns in and then actually close what we call a skill gap. So if they need any particular skills to work in a company, you can add those skills to those interns while they're doing the internship. And it's also, internships is also a really great way to like enhance company visibility and brand recognition. By getting your internship out there, people will notice your brand and your logo. And so it's a great way to use that as well. I think that is more or less my time.
Thank you very much, Nikolai, and a big round of virtual applause as well for Nikolai. And these silent applauses are interesting. And now I would like to invite all the speakers. Gregory and Nikolai that you've already heard, and also Tanya.
Hi, everybody.
For a fireside chat, for the questions. And I'm going to start with one that I think it's relevant for all the speakers. How can we best make use of interns? So how should we be using the interns? Probably somebody who has a quick answer for that is Nikolai, of course. Well, but I'm happy to hear all the opinions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll just repeat myself that we should use them to, of course, lighten the workload of our usual workforce, but it's the best way to get the right kind of talent that you're looking for into your organization. So it is the best way to do recruitment because you also get the possibility to actually get to know the people and their skills before you actually pay to hire them.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I think that was a that was a very good answer. Basically, the interns already know your company and you know them, so it's a perfect opportunity to get to know each other and then to hire. It's an easy hire.
I would even like to poke a little bit more beyond that point, in the sense that it's not only a way of acquiring skills that you need to enhance. So you have positions that you know what needs to be done, and you bring people to fill those gaps. But also it's a way to explore new areas or new skills, or bring skills that you may not even have in the organization.
Exactly.
Be it because of generational issues, be it because it's something that you haven't explored yet. So if you bring somebody in with fresh knowledge, fresh insights, and a fresh attitude, and then they are learning about your company at the same time that your company is learning about what they bring.
That's right. You know, Daniel, as you know, we've talked to many companies who say, we've obtained some LCA software. We know it's powerful, but it's so complex. We haven't taken the time to learn it. And we all face this problem where we have so much to do on our plates. I think what an intern can do in the Oyster context is, of course, they can master it quite quickly, but what they can then do is show their colleagues at the company, here's how it works on one of our products. And before you try out or invest even a little time of your own in learning a new software tool, you really want to see, how does it work on something real for me? And I think that's what our interns can definitely offer is they'll build a model of something useful and real for the companies, and the colleagues in the company will be able to get their hands on it and make use of it right away.
I'm going to have a follow-up question for Greg and possibly for the rest, but knowing your experience with life cycle assessment, who do you think should be doing environmental assessments in the organization, or who can be involved in the environmental assessments in the organization? Because we're talking about interns taking that role, we're talking about people that currently are doing. What's your view on that?
You know, as you also know, Daniel, a passion of ours at Erster is really democratizing that. We know from experience that the organization benefits so deeply if people across the organization can at least, as I say, get their hands on a model. I think it's going to be interns and their colleagues in the sustainability departments that initiate many of these projects to build a life cycle understanding for the company. But then the marketing groups are going to grab onto it. Designers who don't have time or desire to learn life cycle assessment, but want to get a feel for hotspots and drivers will get onto it. And I'm really dreaming of the days when CEOs and other members of the C-suite open their laptops, show their colleagues the Erster models of their products, and the power that comes from the whole company thinking in a life cycle way about their impacts and ways to improve them.
Fantastic. And I have a segue to another question that I was thinking. What do you think are we're talking about a particular approach of getting interns doing LCA and preparing them for those LCAs. What do you think are the benefits of this? I could call it a hybrid approach. I don't know hybrid between what, but hybrid. What would you say are the benefits of this type of approach in particular?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go ahead?
Maybe,
please.
Nick, you might have a nice comment on that from the broad perspective.
So then please try to rephrase it. I'm not sure I quite understood it.
So what are the benefits of the approach of interns for life cycle assessment of the academy approach?
So,
or in general of interns for new skills. Maybe Tanya can.
I can jump in here. So I think one of the benefits is really that there is first the training part, and I will tell you a little bit more about how the academy looks like and how the internship program looks like in a minute. But one of the benefits is that you first get training in the topic. You also might have a background in something completely different, which you add, and then you add that to your LCA knowledge that you get from our training. And then when you go work for the companies and you do the practical parts, you still have our teachers and your peers support. So you're not doing it alone, even though you are alone in a company, or you might be alone in a company, but you have the support system in the back. And I think that's at least one of the benefits.
Yeah, one thing that I can say.
I want to shortly interject because I see some hands up. If you can please put your, just to facilitate, because there's several of the speakers, can you put your questions on the chat so that we can get those and address those? That's a more straightforward way. And I see that some of you are starting to do that. But please, by all means, continue.
No, I just wanted to add, what I think is great about your program is that this ensures the company that when they get the interns, they already have the most of the skills that they need to go and perform a job. So they don't have these like 2 weeks of training an intern. That's already done. So the intern can go in and start work already as soon as they get there. And that's a big benefit of what you do.
I think another piece to this, Daniel, might be the scalability of it is key. You know, a company is going to begin by understanding itself with life cycle assessment. But then, as we've said, they need to engage their key suppliers in this. And so many of those suppliers haven't yet barely heard of LCA, but they certainly haven't gotten active in it. And their first question back to you is going to be, okay, I would do this, but how? I don't have the expertise, etc. And if the companies can say, here, not only here's a very fast, easy to learn tool, but here's a way you can access talent and bring them quickly into your organization, I think that just reduces the friction of this kind of viral spread of life cycle through the economy dramatically.
Thank you very much. There is a question that I'm getting from the audience. Is the company internship connected to solving a specific problem? Maybe this question is more for Tanya, but
yeah, well, the idea is that the interns are going to work on real life problems in your company. So solving a little part, depending on how big that problem basically is. So doing a real life cycle analysis on a product or on part of your business is what we have planned that the interns will do for you. Yeah.
And there's a follow-up question from the same person saying that do we think that the 2 months is going to get them able to go very far in their assessment? And that's probably for Tanya or for Greg or for myself or for Nikolai. How much can an intern get done in 2 months?
Well, an intern can start a lot of processes. So you may not be there to see it unless they hire you, but it will start a lot in a company to then, okay, this is something that we actually need to do something about. And somebody just have to get the idea and start it. And then everything will start to move after that. But somebody has to start it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to say, from the point of view of LCA in particular, 2 months can be a long time if the question is sharp enough, or 2 years can be too little time if the question is not clear enough. So if your question is, what is the environmental impact of all my products and what will it be? Well, you're never going to get an answer to that. That's maybe a truism. But if you say, we have this decision, we have these 2 suppliers, we want to know which one would have less of a carbon footprint or less of a water footprint. Mm-hmm. Now you made it a lot more specific, and then it's a matter of gathering the information and so on. And I dare say that with Earthsturm, because the learning curve is much shorter, the software is not getting in the way. So then the 2 months is enough for them to answer several of those questions, I would say, several related questions. If somebody expects in 2 months to get an LCA of 1,000 products, maybe that's not possible even with the best expert in the world.
Just hire 1,000 interns.
Well, yeah, you can hire 1,000 interns.
Yeah, I also think, to build on your comments, Daniel, that an intern in 2 months, it's a very realistic expectation that they will build a structure that will continue to support learning in the company. Yep. Specifically, they'll build some models of products that in some cases have proxy data, have data from databases, but those models are ready to demand and receive more accurate information as it flows in over the coming months. And the key, as you say, Nikolai, is just to start and to demonstrate what's possible, to ignite people's imaginations and have them realize what's possible.
I got a little bit distracted reading another one of the questions, which is also very interesting. But I want to also emphasize, like, building on what you said, I mentioned in my talk that one of the keys that makes us a difference, that we look at things from the angle of communication, like how our environmental impacts are communicated or analyzed. Mm-hmm. And that also makes it so if you get an intern that would go into a cave and do an LCA and give you a report, then you could say, will they have time to deliver the report, and will the report reach the finishing line? But because of this very communicative, very interactive way of doing things, every day they spend, their LCA gets better. So if they spend a week, you will get a course model. If they spend a month, you will get a more precise model. So you are, as they work on it, you reduce uncertainty until you reach a point in which you say, we can make a decision on this and move on. and you still keep the model so that if things change in the future, you can keep working with them. So it's not only the work performed, but everything that stays after the intern has left, or when the intern becomes part of your workforce, and then they continue using those same models themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We have a question here. Do you see an opportunity for interns to contribute to the large EPD digitalization effort as well? Does Earthster plan to engage with any encryption technologies in order to enable contribution participation from companies that don't want to divulge unit process data, but might be willing to contribute roll-ups? I think that's very core to the way Earthster works, in the sense that that we make it possible for those suppliers to share. So we make it possible for LCA to be not digital in one machine, but digital as in connected, and all the good properties of data that we're used to in other areas. So in the sense that you don't have to share all the data, but you can share parts of it, and it can be cross-checked at several points. So when you import a model elsewhere, you're basically importing and copying it. Here, what you're doing is connecting to your supplier's data. So in that sense, by having an intern that is doing this LCA, and for the key suppliers, or for all the suppliers, if you wish, connecting with them and engaging them so that they do their LCAs, you are in fact digitalizing your LCA in a way that you will later have that digital asset with you, with the intern managing it or being part of the team, or with somebody else using those assets, and both are compatible, of course.
Mm-hmm. And as you, I think, touched on, Daniel, with Earthster, you can either share details of your process, or you can choose to share, as they expressed it in the question, the rolled up impact assessment results. That's certainly feasible. So it's effectively sharing EPD style information for your products or services.
And I think that connects a little bit with how do we structure the contributions? It's through Earthster. So the interns learn how to use Earthster. I'm realizing that we've touched on the timeline for the fireside chat. So I would like to ask for a big round of applause for Greg and Nikolai, and also for Tanya. But Tanya's going to stay on stage for her presentation. So over to you, Tanya.
Yeah. So hello, everybody from my side as well. So first of all, I want to start by reminding you about the challenge I set up for you guys. So I haven't checked my phone yet, but I want to have 10 people message me that you want to take an intern on board. So of course, the first people who tell me that they want an intern has the first pick from our incredible pool of applicants. So please do that. Okay, I will get to telling you a little bit about the Academy. So the Environmental Impacts Academy has been built so that you can source your environmental talent for your company. And our first internship will start in January 2022. The internship is built so that there is like two parts. First part is a 2-week training. The second part is a 2 months working for your company. Let's start with the training part. So during this time, the students and the newly graduates will learn and understand the product life cycles and how to properly evaluate environmental impacts. They will get provided with tools, databases, and they can use Earthster free of charge for the entire internship. And they will be taught by the top LCA professionals as well. Let's move over to the 2 months. So this is the practical working part. The students will work on your LCA projects using Earthster. And as I said earlier, they will have the support of our teacher and the support of their peers in this. So they will not be alone solving those problems for you. And now you might think, okay, how do we match you with somebody? So right now we actually have over 100 students in our pool who are excited to start working on an internship. So basically, let us know if you are interested. We will connect you with the profiles that we think works for you the best from this pool of 100 students. A second opportunity is that you might be approached by a student. So a student might come and say, hey, I'm interested in this internship, and you can bring that student to us and we can start working with them. Or you find somebody in your organization that might be interested. That works as well. So if you got excited about the internship, please send me a WhatsApp message that you want to have an intern on board and start working with them in January. You can send me a WhatsApp message, as I said, or you can answer the email that I will be sending out to you guys after this webinar, and we will set up a meeting and discuss your intern needs some more. So please, let's start the dialogue.
Thank you very much, Tanya, and big round of applause, virtual silent applause for Tanya. And that was it for our event. That was it for the Environmental Impact Internship Program Data Driving Competitiveness webinar. And I just want to leave you with as parting words that having first pick on talent is incredibly valuable, and you have the chance to get that now by just sending a WhatsApp message to Tanya. So don't miss your chance now to pick first and get the best interns. And with that, I thank you everybody for attending. I thank our speakers for the participation. I thank all the participants for the questions and for listening and for the engagement. And I'll see you in other editions or later in the program, some of you. Thank you very much. Have an excellent day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.